Hey, welcome back everyone. Ahsan here from Century 21 Innovative Realty, and today I've got a guest on the show who was here before, Fatema Railey from Vogue Mortgages, who's going to help us answer a ton of mortgage questions. Last month we did a podcast where I was answering real estate questions, and I got so many questions on the mortgage side, and I said I'll let you answer those because you're the expert. And thanks for coming on at such short notice. Really appreciate that. And just for your information, she is the first reappearing guest on the show, so that says a lot about her and her expertise. So thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me again.
My
I do
pleasure.
appreciate that. And
My pleasure.
Definitely excited, to navigate. It's a different market from where it was, 2 years ago. So excited. So
absolutely. And that's the whole point, because we've got a lot of burning questions that are related to today's environment, today's market. So I think although this is case by case for individuals, a lot of people will have similar questions that's going to relate to them as well. So we're not going to waste any time. I'm going to hit you with probably the most common question I get so far is, what is your forecast for interest rates in 2023? And do you think rates will continue to go up, or will they start to come down later this year?
Of course. So last year was an interesting year.
It was. Yeah.
I don't think any of us expected, the rate hikes, as high as they are right now. But hopefully, things will be different in 2023. That's what we're hoping for.
Okay.
That's what the economists are saying. So we have a next, announcement happening on the 25th of January. There's two sides. Some people are saying that it's going to, stay the same where we're at. Other people are saying that there's going to be a little bit of an increase, and then, that's where it's going to stop. Okay. And then we'll probably start to see, rates taper off, go down. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Middle of 2023, beginning of 2024. Right. But so to say, and I think we're probably going to cover this later on in the podcast, is that the rates aren't going to be where they were 2 years ago. Like, you're not going to see that 1%, 1 point whatever. They're going to be roughly around like that 3-4%, but don't quote me on it because
full
disclosure. None of us have a crystal ball, but we're hoping to see the rates, will slowly start going down. Okay. Middle of 2023, end of 2023.
Any prediction as to if the rate hike happens again, what percentage?
Probably 25 basis points.
25 basis points? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
there you go. All right. So question number 2 is a individual who messaged me, and she asked this following question. I have a closing coming up in a few months. My hope is that the closing gets delayed so that maybe rates can come down, even if the closing is a little bit later on. With this in mind, what are the going rates currently for fixed and variable? What would you suggest I go with in this crazy rate environment with so much uncertainty? Her fear is that if I lock in with the fixed rate, then she may miss out on a variable rate if rates go down. And she ends off here by saying, I'm so confused.
No, fair enough. And I think a lot of people are in this situation. Like last year, or the year before, everyone was like, variable, like that's where everyone's mind was at, right? Now things have changed a little bit where, variable rates higher, so is the fixed rate. So where do you stand? A lot of people have this misconception that it's only a 5-year term on both variable and the fixed side. However, that's not necessarily true. You can lock into a 1-year term, a 2-year fixed term, or a 3-year fixed term. Okay. So if you don't want to commit, to the full 5-year, let's say, fixed term, and you want to maybe take advantage of the variable rate later on, right? Maybe lock into like a 2-year term, right? And maybe that might be helpful. And, that way, when you're refinancing or renewing your mortgage, there'll be other options available for you. Okay. With regards to rates, it's a volatile market right now, right? They're ever so changing. We can talk about it today, tomorrow, there's an increase that's going to happen, right? Yeah. But in terms of, like the 5-year mark, so let's say for variable, so I'm going to quote from a high ratio mortgage, which is a mortgage where you're putting less than 20% down. Rates are anywhere around, for 5-year variable, 5.5, right? With a conventional mortgage at like that 6% mark. Okay. For a fixed rate, a 5-year high ratio, anywhere between 4.8 to a conventional, anywhere between like a 5.24, 5.3. So that's where we are right now. Once again, these are today's rates.
Today's rates, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Okay, perfect, awesome. Next question we got here. I got a fixed rate 3 years ago at a decent rate. My renewal is coming up in 2024. I'm sitting okay for now, but I'm concerned that when my renewal comes up, I'm going to have to lock in at a much higher rate. Is there anything I can do to keep my rate for longer? I guess he's talking about his existing rate.
Right.
If I can't keep the same rate, what's your advice when it comes time for my renewal? I think a lot of people will have renewals coming up, so this applies to many people.
Of course.
For fixed rate mortgages.
Of course. So unfortunately, they can't keep their same rate once their term is up. However, there's two, I guess, avenues that they can explore, right? The bank will send them, the bank that they bank with currently, they will send them a letter saying, this is your new rate, right? But on the side, you can actually explore with other banks to see the rates that they're offering and the different features that they may be offering, right? That may be a fit for you then at that time, right? So at that point, I think, run both, side by side to see which kind of makes sense for you, right? Okay. So I think that would be my advice, when it's, time for a renewal.
Yeah.
Go to your existing bank, but also look at other banks that can help you.
And look at your options, basically.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, I guess for that, they can also get in touch with yourself as well.
Absolutely, because we have access to multiple lenders, right? That we don't have to go to BMO, CIBC, RBC all separately. For sure. We can, I can do that for you. Exactly.
Awesome, great, thanks so much. Next question. I currently have an investment property at a 2.6% fixed interest rate, which renews in 2025. I'm seeing a ton of buying opportunities right now in the market. My initial thought was to take out the equity from this property and use it to buy another one. Since I am on a fixed rate, do I have to pay a penalty for refinancing or taking out the equity? If so, how much? And if so, how much is that penalty? And is there any way to avoid this? I want to capitalize on some deals that I see now that were not there before.
Okay, so if he does or if she does, decide, to break their, mortgage, there is a penalty that's associated with it. With fixed rates, the penalty is typically higher than if you're in a variable rate mortgage, right? However, they can probably go back to their bank and see if they offer a HELOC, right? So home equity line of credit. They can tack that on, right? Okay. And maybe pull out the equity from there and probably use that towards the down payment for the next property, right? So they could do a HELOC, they could do an LOC, just a regular line of credit. So depending on those options, those are options, that will help them, I guess, save them from that penalty.
Right.
But there's a two-piece to that too, right? The HELOC then becomes a debt. So let's say if you do decide, to use that and then you go purchase a property, that goes into your debt servicing ratio for the next property. So you kind of got to, evaluate which kind of makes sense at that time. Maybe paying that penalty might be better, if it's not adding that debt and helping you qualify for more.
Right.
Or, so that's why, once again, important to chat the options through. With an agent, so you know which way is really the right way.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying is there's no one option, one answer. It depends on the situation, on your comfort level.
Correct.
No right or wrong, right?
Exactly.
Different options.
Exactly.
That makes sense. I guess just a follow for myself on that question is that any idea as to what that penalty could be? I know it ranges based on the term, right?
Of course, yeah, for sure. So for variable mortgages, penalties, the 3-month interest payments, right?
So it's a lot lower.
Exactly, a lot lower. So you're looking anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 depending, right? And then for fixed, really depends. It can range anywhere between 10 to 20K. Once again, depending on where your term's at and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but a simple calculation, even if you go to the bank and they'll be able to tell you what it is that the penalty is.
Perfect.
I can tell you as well.
Yep, there you go. All right. All right, on to the next question here. I'm looking to get into the market this year, but I'm looking for sellers who are desperate to sell because they can't afford the mortgage. I know it's bad to say this, but if someone is struggling, maybe I can pull off a great deal. My question is, are you starting to see people default on their mortgages? What's the sense you're getting right now from homeowners? And are many people going to default or are people hanging on? That's a very interesting question.
Yeah. And I think, and there is people out there waiting on the sidelines, to kind of get onto these deals with distressed sales and stuff like that. But the indication that we're getting on our side, people are doing everything in their power to make that mortgage payment. People will probably, default on their credit card or their car, right? Yeah. But mortgage is usually one of the last ones that they will default on, right? So a lot of clients that I'm talking to, right, they're tapping into their savings, parents, any sort of reserve
just
that, it's like literally like they're just getting by, right? And it is a sad situation. But so far, what we're mostly seeing is people are holding on and they're just, doing whatever it is in their power, to get through. I think I did read somewhere that Bank of Canada did ask like the big banks to actually put like a default reserve fund for people who are going to start defaulting. So we'll see what 2023 has, in market. We'll see on the 25th actually, to see if, that's going to, make a difference and impact. But so far I think people are just, doing their best and hanging in there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like from a real estate perspective, I did a survey just at the end of the year last year. So I just brought some stats as well, where the majority of my clients actually, I would say 60% of them were actually on a fixed mortgage.
Yeah.
So they were okay for the next 1, 2, or 3 years.
Right.
The 40% were on a variable. Out of the 40%, I would say was split. 50-50 were on the variable static fixed payment, and the others were on the adjustable rate. So they were the ones that were really struggling. Speaking with them, getting an idea as to what their sense is, it's the exact same thing. People are kind of hanging on, scraping and clawing. Some people are obviously struggling more than others. And I am starting to see a little bit of a cracks, especially with people that I speak to in various environments where, starting to get some calls where people are actually thinking of selling.
Yeah.
Not to the point where like it's a mass flood of inventory, but let's just like out of every 10 people that I know, maybe 1 or 2 is like now considering.
Right.
I don't know. It's my opinion. I don't see a flood of inventory. I think people are going to hang on. I think rates will come down eventually. I do think it's a short-term pain, but there are going to be those sellers,
Absolutely.
that will come out and will have to sell, of course. Okay, next question here. When interest rates go up, I know the mortgages will be impacted, but do other loans also get impacted, like credit card debt, lines of credit, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. So anything with like a revolving portion, right, will be impacted. So a HELOC, a line of credit, like if you do have a HELOC or a line of credit, it'll say prime plus or minus whatever the bank gave you the discount for, right? So those will be impacted. But usually car payments, credit cards, they usually come with fixed rates, and those usually don't really change at all. Okay,
perfect. That was short and sweet. Pretty good. Next question here, which impacts a lot of foreign buyers here. This is one of my clients who lives outside of Canada asked me, will international buyers be able to buy properties in Toronto in 2023? What about PR holders or non-citizens? And she's referring to the foreign buyer ban that just took place this year on January the 1st.
So I think we need to have a separate video about that policy. That's a whole separate topic that we need to talk about. But the ban is, put in for non-Canadians, right? The exemption list is so big, right?
Loopholes,
loopholes, right? So if you're a PR holder, no issue, right? You have a work permit, you can still buy. International student, you can still buy.
Wow, okay.
If you're married to somebody, who has a PR, you can still buy, right?
Okay.
So like I said, I think we need a separate conversation on the foreign buy. What the government was trying to achieve, are they actually really achieving it without getting controversial?
Well, I mean, off the record, I just think it's just a play on words, making it look like they are doing something, but that's another topic for the day. We can talk about that as well.
Absolutely.
So, but no, that's a great answer. That covers, I think, her questions there. Next question here. I'm new to Canada, but I have my PR. My first question is, do I even qualify to buy a home? Or do I fall under the foreign buyer ban? So you mentioned that already. Second question that he has here is that since I am new to Canada, I have heard that newcomers have to put in 35 or 40% down payment, while others can get away with as little as 5%. I don't wish to put up that much capital. Are there any programs for me where I can put less of a down payment? And this is something that I get a lot from new immigrants who are coming in, who are looking to buy a home but don't want to put in every dollar that they have, right, in their savings.
Absolutely. So we do have a New to Canada program, right? Okay. So you can put as little as 5% down as long as you qualify. And the good thing about this program is that, they don't have the credit, that you or I would have because we've been here for a long time, right? So they look at the international credit and, bank statements from there, right? So this program is specifically designed for people that are coming from overseas to live in Canada and they want to, make a life over here. So definitely you don't need to put up that much. As little as 5% is okay, as long as, once again, you qualify for that amount.
And is there a time limit as to how long they have to stay? Like is it 6 months, a year, or when they come right away?
They can come as long as, we have a job, we can, show that there's income coming because they have to service that mortgage, right? And they have, sufficient down payment funds, where the down payment's coming from, right? We have the history for that. They can kind of start looking right away kind of thing.
Amazing. Next question we got here. I will be in the market to buy a home later this year. I feel that going variable might be the way to go because rates may come back down again. Do you anticipate rates to come back down to what they were last year? Also, if I do go variable, I've heard that I can still get a variable mortgage, but my payment does not change. Therefore, even if rates go up, I can pay the same amount every month. Is this possible, and how does that work exactly?
So I think I'll cover the second part of the question first, which is the static variable mortgage is what he's referring to. So there's two types of variable products. One is an adjustable, like a true variable mortgage, and then the other one is like a static variable mortgage. So it's kind of like best of both worlds, where the static is your payments are fixed. The interest and principal changes, at the back of your amortization. So that's where all that, work happens with the bank. So your payments remain the same every month until you hit your trigger rate, which hasn't happened in so long, but now you're hearing about the trigger rate, people hitting their trigger rates. Exactly, right? So to keep it simple, what he's talking about is a static variable mortgage, and that's when your payments remain the same. So, you can have the flexibility, if you do decide, to get out of your term, once again, penalties lower, and all that, all the benefits that come with a variable rate mortgage. With regards to rates being as low as they were, I guess 18 months ago, no.
Probably not.
Probably not. Like the Bank of Canada itself has admitted that was just, they've said that they made a mistake, right? Like I said, that 3%, 4% mark is we're probably going to see where the rates are going to be at. Once again, no crystal ball, don't quote me on it, but, that's what, the word in the market is, right?
Okay.
I think I answered. Was that was the question?
No,
okay.
That was good. That answers it perfectly. All right, we've got a couple of more questions here. Next question. Do you think right now in this market it would be a good idea to refinance and lock into a fixed rate? So I guess a lot of people are asking questions in different ways, but this is a question that came to us as well.
So I think, once again, that is up to you and your preference, right? I have a lot of people that are in a variable rate mortgage, but they're sticking it out, right? Like they know, because if you are going to, let's say if you decide, to refinance and you go into like a fixed rate now, you're going in at the highest rate right now as well too, right? It's not like it's the low rate, right? So you're locking into a high rate as well, right? With that being said, really, if you want that comfort, you want to sleep at night, go to your bank, your existing bank that you have right now, see if they offer a program where you can lock into the fixed. But once again, maybe do a short term versus a long term, right? Maybe not do the full 5 years, maybe do the 2 years, right? It really depends on the person and, what they're feeling and how their, how their finances are.
Now, if let's say you do lock into a 5-year fixed mortgage, but let's say you consider a 2-year fixed mortgage, what would be the rate differential between the two?
Yeah, so funny. The rate differential. So if you lock into a 5-year, the rate is actually lower than a 2-year because, of course, banks want to make money off you, right? It's not by that much. Like a 5-year fixed is 5.24. 2-year fixed is like 5.64. Like it's not that big in terms of dollar amount, right? It just looks good, on paper, but when you actually, do the numbers, it's like a few dollars here and there.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So there you have a few options right there that you can take advantage of. Last question we have here. I have my closing coming up this spring, and my fear is that my appraisal will come in lower. I bought at the height of the market, and right now, similar homes in the area are selling for at least $100K less. Will my appraisal come in okay? And if it doesn't, what are my options? I don't want to lose the house or my deposit. And this is something that we've been seeing a lot in the media lately, as you guys all know and you're aware. So a lot of people have this question. So what is the your opinion on this question right now?
Absolutely. So I think first I say order the appraisal as soon as possible, right? Like if you're working with an agent and a realtor, like get them to order that appraisal, okay? If it comes in lower, right? work with the realtor. Why is it coming in lower?
Right.
You know, there must be stats and comps that we can support it. We want to get to, you know, that purchase price, you know, as close to it as possible.
Right.
But then sadly, you know, you probably might need extra funds, right? You know, to cover that difference. But I think first and foremost, order that appraisal, get that going, you know, have a good team of an agent and a realtor behind you, you know, helping you fight, you know, the value of your house.
Correct.
And then kind of go from there. So that would be my advice. Like that would be my first advice. Get that appraisal done ASAP.
Got it. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Fatema. That was amazing. I think we answered a lot of burning questions that people have. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of more questions later on in the year. So we'll probably ask you to come back on later on. But thank you so much. If you guys have any further questions, you have Fatema's contact. We'll provide it below. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.